Apollo 11, the 50th anniversary, and more coming up on today's episode of Latest in Tech News. Hey Gadgeteer, you're just in time for the latest episode of the world's only 3-in-1 show on tech, gadgets, and gaming news. That's right, this is Latest in Tech News. My name is Taylor American. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now so that you don't miss out on the latest that we have to offer here. We do this as a daily show except for Saturday and Sunday, so be sure to hit that notification bell as well if you're watching on YouTube to stay tuned in. And speaking of YouTube videos, wait till you get to a part of the show to actually hit that like button. I know some of you are still new to how this feature works on YouTube. They've had it around forever, and typically it's not meant to be pressed immediately when you hit play on a video. It's meant to be clicked on when you get to a part of the show that you actually like. And speaking of what's to like, well, did you know that today marks the 50th anniversary? We'll be getting more into that, as well as, well, we'll be taking a look at, well, not only that, the SpaceX is launching the Starhopper rocket ship in a test today. How ironic. We'll be getting into that as well. Also, we'll be taking a look at the social chat app Capture, launching to take a shot at a less viral success, but it may go viral. We'll find out. Also, if you have Sprint, beware, a hacker breached Sprint customer accounts through a Samsung website, and we'll be getting into that, as well as Apple planning to buy up original podcasts with exclusivity in mind. Oh, great. Apple original podcasting. This would be great. Also, we'll be taking a look at the Rubiks Cube, apparently solved by a deep learning algorithm in a fraction of a second. Now what are we humans going to entertain ourselves with? Thanks a lot, technology. And finally, we'll be taking a look at Pokemon Go's trainer battles are getting an overhaul. But before we can, did you know that the highly successful FPS game GoldenEye 007 was developed by a team who had never previously worked for any video game developers? 8 out of 10 of its developers were totally inexperienced in the art of making video games, and they see, apparently you don't have to know anything about anything in video games, and it's a big old hit. And if you liked it, great. If you didn't, well, go take a look at that game. It's what helped launch the FPS community into the mainstream and popularize it, or at least ease the mainstream's understanding of it a little bit more. All right, on this segment today in tech history, being that today is July 16th, 2019, first and foremost, on this day in 1969, Apollo 11 is launched from Cape Kennedy, Florida, on the way to becoming the first space mission to land men on the moon. And of course, that feat will happen 4 days later. So, also on this day in history, in 1951, the VisiCalc creator was born. VisiCalc creator Dan Bricklin was born in Philadelphia. Bricklin moved from his hometown to Boston to attend the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and study computer science. The background proved useful during a later turn at Harvard Business School, where Bricklin teamed up with Robert Frankston to design the first business spreadsheet program. The result in 1979 was a visible calculator that automated the recalculation of spreadsheets. Bricklin and Frankston founded Software Arts Inc. and sold their program to Apple Computer and other companies, selling 100,000 copies in the first year, which at that time was pretty incredible. And before we get into today's feature segment, I just wanted to let you know, because you're probably going to comment about this sooner or later, either take your pick or you don't care at all. Yes, I got a haircut. And if you're listening to the podcast, you're like, you can cut your hair? Yeah, we do this as a YouTube show, so it is mainly for you guys watching a video on YouTube. Hi, I cut my hair multiple times, and it looks much nicer. I know you're probably commentating in the past videos, at least for the past probably week or two, cut your hair. Well, now I did. No excuse. So with that out of the way, let's get on over to today's feature story. All right. Apollo 11, it is the 50th anniversary. NASA tweeting out just minutes ago, on this day, 50 years ago, 3 humans left Earth riding on the most powerful rocket in the world, the Saturn V. 5 decades later, how does it compare to America's next great rocket? Well, let's find out. And apparently on Twitter, they're trending with Apollo 50th as the hashtag. It's all really, really exciting stuff. So today marks the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11 taking off. 4 days later, they would land on the moon. And if you guys are interested and you love all the tech stuff that goes into science and the calculations behind this wasn't just a small group of people. These are thousands of people working together to come up with a collective mind to how in the world can we put a man on the moon. And this is essentially the culmination of that space race. So Apollo 11's mission as it happened is currently going on with 2 amazing live streams this month, courtesy of ApolloInRealTime.org and Space.com's partner Simulation Curriculum. It looks like on Video from Space, I have a live YouTube video of it. With ApolloInRealTime.org, Feist and archivist Stephen Slater has created an immersive experience that stitches together vast amounts of Apollo 11 mission audio, images, video, and transcripts to give viewers a full accounting of the historic mission that sent astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins to the moon, while Space.com is simulcasting ApolloInRealTime.org's live stream above. For the best experience, you'll want to visit the website itself, which features a number of multimedia experiences and options not possible in the YouTube feed. So there is also a real-time widget for NASA Apollo 11 mission that allows users to relive the mission as it happened, with detailed digital renderings of the Saturn V rocket during launch, and Apollo Command Module and Lunar Lander during the flight. Simulation Curriculum created it. Allows viewers not only to track the Apollo mission, but also see the locations of planets and stars during the historic Apollo missions. And oh, look at that. Here it is in space. Heading to the moon. So I guess you have to head on over there to find out more information about that. So yeah, historic Apollo missions are an indelible part of the American experience and psyche, said Seth Meyers from Simulation Curriculum. Generations remember Neil Armstrong's one small step for man, and with the Apollo mission data in Starry Night and Sky Safari, millions of space enthusiasts will be able to vicariously experience these important space missions with precise, true-to-life simulations. So, big stuff. So if you guys love all this information and data and crunching and watching all this stuff and learning about all this stuff, great place to visit. Couple websites here, as well as there is a podcast. If you guys are interested and you're on Apple Podcasts, there's a podcast titled Apollo 11, What We Saw. I'd highly recommend that you go and listen to it. It actually recaptures a lot of what happened and what was going on during that time. The space race, the beginning of it, the what happened during it, the culmination leading up to it, and everything that went along with it. It's quite an impressive feat. There is video, I think, somewhere on YouTube as well. You probably have to go to youtube.com and search for Apollo 11 What We Saw. They do post, I think, the video clips on there as well. So yeah, are you guys excited celebrating Apollo 11's 50th anniversary mission? Let's just say, when it comes to the end of it, what were the best chances of landing a man on the moon? Depends on the mood of the moon. No, the best chances were, at best, 50-50. Even though you might say, well, they landed on the moon, man on the moon, they did it. Well, during that time, could you imagine the technology they were working with compared to now? Mind-boggling. And the amount of people that they had on it compared to the amount of people you could have on it now. And if you had that same amount of people, what we could accomplish? Could we land a man on Mars in this generation? I have no idea. Probably the best odds we're going to get there is 50-50. But yeah, so I don't know if you guys are excited about it. I'm excited about it. I've been reading a whole lot about it, space and the exploration thereof, and everything that goes into the technology behind it and developing everything and precise mathematical calculations and knowing for sure to the best of your ability that you could do it. All the missions leading up to it, everything culminating in Apollo 11. What was your favorite part? Well, at least of Apollo 11. Was it the launch? Was it of them in orbit around the moon? Was it landing on the moon and getting out and jumping around and seeing the video footage around that? Was it them coming back home safely? Love to hear your thoughts. Post below in the comments section. And if you're listening to this via podcast, head on over to twitter.com/TechNewsGadget and leave your thoughts there. With that out of the way, let's head on over to today's next story. All right. Unironically, SpaceX is about to launch a Mars rocket prototype in Texas. See what I meant there? Nice tie-in, right? Are we going to get a man on Mars in this generation? Well, SpaceX, we shall find out. If you're interested, you can watch a live video of its hover test going on thanks to a couple of their nearby neighbors. So SpaceX is about to launch a stubby steel rocket ship from the southern tip of Texas, and a group of local residents is hoping to broadcast the attempt live. The rocket ship is called Starhopper, and it stands more than 60 feet tall and 30 feet wide. A single Raptor rocket engine is attached to its base, and the SpaceX plans to test fire that engine today to show it works. About 24 hours after the test firing, most likely Wednesday between 3 and 11 p.m. Eastern, SpaceX will attempt the main launch. The vehicle should fly about 65 feet or 20 meters into the air, hover, move sideways, and then land back on its launch pad near Boca Chica Beach, according to a tweet from Elon Musk. So, Starhopper isn't designed to go to space, rather, keep in mind, it's designed to test technology for a far larger and more powerful launch vehicle called Starship. That system could stand nearly 400 feet tall and be capable of sending about 100 people and more than 100 tons of cargo to Mars or the moon. Now, the launch system is also being designed for full reusability, which may vastly reduce the cost of accessing space. Other versions could be built to deploy hundreds of satellites at a time or rocket-paying passengers halfway around the world in about half an hour. SpaceX fired up Starhopper for the first time in April. That test secured the rocket ship with giant bike chain-like tethers on its legs, and the vehicle lifted more than a few inches off of the ground. Subsequent tests lifted it farther, but not by much. Why this week is important is it will test launch it completely untethered. So a SpaceX spokesperson told Business Insider in an email that the hop and hover test was one in a series of tests designed to push the limits of the vehicle as quickly as possible to learn all we can as fast as we safely can. So a launch attempt on Wednesday is anything but guaranteed, though. As with all development programs, the schedule can be quite dynamic and subject to change. So when a Twitter user asked Musk if there would be live streaming video of the launch, Musk said, sure. So, have yet to confirm there will indeed be a broadcast. So just in case that doesn't happen, a group of locals have set up a YouTube live feed of Starhopper's launch site. So if it happens, tune into the YouTube live feed there. It'll most likely happen on Wednesday evening, afternoon-ish. So, yeah. How about that? Just keep in mind, with the Apollo 11 celebrations 50th anniversary underway, the launch just happened today on the 16th. The actual lunar module doesn't happen to reach Mars, or reach Earth, the moon, you know what I'm talking about, until 4 days later on the 20th, and seeing as how we can't really celebrate them touching down on the moon in the 50th anniversary special because we don't do a show on Saturday, well, it's probably the best we're gonna get, but I don't know. Did the Apollo 11 land on Earth? Did it land on Mars? All these thoughts and more will be answered in my head because I have no idea what the heck I'm talking about. But yeah, so it's incredible. So NASA goes and, you know, has all of the missions going on, the space race and Apollo 11 and all of that. And then we really never heard much of anything beyond that or since then. So SpaceX isn't a branch of NASA. It's not even a government entity. It's a private company. And they're looking to, I guess, one-up NASA and say, hey, guess what? If you can't figure it out, we'll figure it out for you. And then we'll take the credit for it. And NASA's now like, ugh, shoot. Maybe we shouldn't have. What the heck have we been doing for the last 50 years? I don't know. What have you been doing? You've been doing some stuff. You've been doing incredible. You started with a bang. What happened? And SpaceX is like, well, we'll pick up where you left off, I guess, and send 100 people to Mars sometime down the road. We'll see. So, let's see. In terms of how you can see it, they do have links. So if you're interested in any of the articles covered today, along with the further links, head on over to TechNewsGadget.net. You can get all the links to today's show articles that we covered and, well, read away to your heart's content. That's what the links are there for. So with that out of the way, let's head on over to our next lineup story. All right, capture. Wow, that is a thrilling picture of a very happy cat. You're totally missing out listening to this on a podcast. I'm just going to tell you. The YouTube video is hilarious. youtube.com/TechNewsGadget. So, at first glance, launching a new social app may seem as sensible a startup idea as plunging headfirst into shark-infested waters. But even with infamous curtain ripper Facebook now making grand claims about a pivot to privacy, it's clear something is shifting in the commercial shipping channels that contain our digital chatter. If you whisper it, feeds are tiring, follows are tedious, attention is expiring. There's also, of course, the damage that personal digital baggage left out in the open can wreak long after the fact of a blown fuse or fleeting snap. Public feeds have become vehicles of self-promotion, carefully and heavily curated, which, of course, brings its own peer pressure to keep up with friends' exploits and an influencer-gram aesthetic that pretends life looks like a magazine spread. Yet, for a brief time, in the gritty early days of social media, and I actually remember this, there was something akin to spontaneous, confessional reality on show online. People do like to share. That's mostly been swapped for the polish of aspirational faking it on apps like Facebook-owned Instagram, while genuine friend chatter has moved behind the quasi-closed doors of group messaging apps like WhatsApp or Telegram. Now, if you want to chat more freely online without being defined by your existing social graph, the options are less mainstream friendly, to say the least. Twitter is genuinely great if you're willing to put in the time and effort to find interesting strangers, but its user growth problems shows most consumers just aren't willing or are able to do that. And, well, it's not something new to Twitter. They've been struggling with it for years at this point. Telegram groups also require time and effort to track down. Also relevant in interest-based chat, veteran forum Reddit, and game chat platform Discord, both pretty popular, though not really in a way that cuts across the mainstream, tending to cater to more niche or focused interest. Neither is designed for mobile first either. Well, this is why Capture's founders are convinced there's a timely opportunity for a new social app to slot in. One which leverages smartphone sensors and AI smarts to make chatting about anything as easy as pointing a camera to take a shot. They're not new to the social game either. As we reported last year, TechCrunch, two of Capture's founders were part of the team behind the style transfer app Prisma, which racked up tens of millions of downloads over a few viral months in 2016, and which, with such a bright feather in their cap, a number of investors, led by General Catalyst, were unsurprisingly eager to chip into their $1 million seed, setting them on a road to today's launch. So, all that to say, the main idea behind the app is during the day, you've got different experiences. Working, watching some TV series, etc. You're sitting in an arena, watching sports, something like that. So we imagine that you should open the app during any type of experience you have during the days, says Capture co-founder and CEO Alexei Moskhinov, fleshing out the overarching vision for the app. It's not just for your friends, it's the moment when you should share something or ask something or discuss something with some other people, like news, for example. I want to discuss news with the people who are relevant, who want to discuss it, and so on and on. So I imagine it's all about small groups with the same goal, discussing the same experience, or something like that. It's more about your everyday life. Basically, you can imagine our app as a real-time forum, he adds, real-time social things like Reddit. So it's more about live discussion, not postponing something. Chat room recommendations are based on contextual inferences that Capture can glean from the mobile hardware, namely where you are, so the app needs to access your location, and even whether you're on the move or lounging around. It also accesses the accelerometer so you can tell, well, it can tell the angle of the phone. The primary sensory input comes from the camera, of course, so like Snap, it's a camera-first app opening straight into the rear lens live view. By default, chats in Capture are public, so it also knows what topics users are discussing, which in turn further feeds and hones its recommendations for chats and indeed matching users. So, the co-founder gives the example of the free-flowing discussion you see unrolling in YouTube comments when a movie trailer gets its first release as a sort of energetic, expressive discussion Capture wants to channel into the app. It's exploding, he says. People are throwing around those comments, discussing it on YouTube, on web, and that's a real pain because there's really no tool where you can simply discuss it with people, maybe with people around you, who are interested in this particular trailer live on a mobile device, and that's a real pain. Everything which is happening around the person should be taken into consideration to be suggested in Capture, and that's our simple vision, he adds. Everything will mean pop culture, news, local events, and interest-based communities. Though some of the relevant sources of pop/events content aren't yet live in the app, the plan is to keep bulking out the suggestive mix to expand what can be discovered via chat suggestions. There's also a discovery tab to surface public chat. So the aim for the app, which is launching on iOS today, Android will come later, perhaps around fall, is to provide an ever-ready, almost no barrier to entry chat channel that offers mobile users no strings attached, socializing, free from the pressures and limits of existing social graphs, friend networks, as well as being a context-savvy aid for content and event discovery, which means helping people dive into relevant discussion communities based on shared interests and or proximity. So it's kind of interesting. I'll have to take a look at this. Have you been able to look at Capture? Let me know down in the comments if you haven't. Let me know if you are, and maybe I'll be able to refer to you to see if you liked it, didn't like it, what you wish was in it, what you wish wasn't in it, what maybe should change down the road. I'd love to have you guys go and test it out. Ooh, matter of fact, forum.technewsgadget.net. I'll probably make a thread on there, so head on over to there and we'll chat further. So with that out of the way, let's head on over to the next story we got lined up for you. Alright, well, hacker breached Sprint customer accounts through the Samsung website of all places. See, isn't Sprint great? Many Sprint customers recently learned that their accounts were compromised through the Samsung website. ZDNet is reporting that Sprint sent a letter to affected customers informing them of the breach. The letter states that on June 22nd, the company learned about unauthorized access to your Sprint account using your account credentials via the Samsung.com add-a-line website. The letter informed the users that the hackers may have seen customers' phone number, device type, device ID, monthly reoccurring charges, subscriber ID, account number, account creation date, upgrade eligibility, first and last name, billing address, and add-on services. But don't worry, Sprint confirmed the breach to Gizmodo, and they said that credit card and social security numbers were not compromised as they are encrypted. Thanks. Sprint told Gizmodo that its team recently detected fraudulent attempts to access Sprint user account information via Samsung.com using Sprint login credentials that were not obtained from Samsung. The company said that no Samsung user account information was accessed as part of these attempts. So the letter told customers that they aren't at substantial risk of becoming a victim of identity theft or fraud, but that statement might not be accurate. Sprint letters to customers states that it reset their PIN codes on June 25th to resecure their accounts. So, update your existing PIN accounts. And if you need further help, they have a dedicated care team that has been established for assistance. Gizmodo, I guess, decided to reach out and find out how many accounts were affected. Didn't hear back from that. Sprint customer information was also compromised earlier this year. Sprint-owned Boost Mobile told customers in May that a hacker breached accounts using Boost.com's PIN numbers and Boost phone numbers. So just double check, change your PIN. If something feels off or fishy, call the care team. Hopefully you get that sorted out. Except, well, if that's the case, maybe look to not have Sprint. Look somewhere else. I know what you're saying. People can pick and choose whatever company they want to, and I'm happy with the company and carrier that I have for my phone. Let me just tell you this one thing. There's a reason why I, personally, me, not anybody else, don't use Sprint. For a very good reason. And this is part of that reason. And that's all I'm going to say. You can make your own decisions. Each has, their own risk. And I fully understand my risk and responsibility in accepting who I choose for my carrier. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anything else, and no, you're not going to make me. All right, so we have some podcast news, and you're probably like, well, what do you like talking about podcasts? Because podcasts are cool, okay? 1 out of 4 people have heard about podcasting or listened to podcasts. I'd like to see that number ultimately get up to 3 out of 4 people. The more people, the merrier. There's plenty of room. Podcasting's been around for decades at this point, and you guys, it's seriously so easy. For those of you cutting cable, for those of you deciding to go elsewhere for your content consumption, if you're on the go, if you need something to listen to while, as opposed to reading, or something to listen to that's, not radio, podcasting, great choice. Look into it. So, podcast fans will want to keep their ears to the ground with the latest Apple news. Bloomberg is reporting that Apple may be looking for deals to bring exclusive original shows to its podcast listening platform. Unnamed sources said the company is reaching out to media companies to secure rights for podcasting exclusivity. This development would mark a shift in how Apple runs its podcast platform. Shows that list on Apple Podcasts can also make their episodes available elsewhere, such as here on the latest in tech news. Exclusive arrangements in the future could come with different restrictions. This might mean that Apple's app is the only place where you can hear an entire show, or this could be a windowing deal where new episodes first appear on Apple before the podcaster can send them to other platforms. Although, this is me thinking out loud here. How this is going to work is probably it's going to be like what Spotify is doing with some of theirs. You know how Netflix and Hulu have like their original show lineups? I guarantee they're going to try and secure rights to original show or create an original show, kind of like Amazon Prime originals. So this is probably going to be like an Apple Podcast original type show. So if there's an existing podcaster out there already, he's probably going to say, no, I get more exposure everywhere else. Suck wind, Apple. And if there is some company, whether they have a podcast existing or not, and they feel better served by just being on Apple only, well, they might make the shift. So Apple's app for podcast listening has long been the most popular place to get your fix of the latest shows. It's kind of been an 800-pound gorilla in a room like forever. It's only been unseated the last 100 pounds, maybe 150, by the introduction of, Spotify and a lot of other companies adopting more podcast available platforms on their platforms as well. However, as the audience for podcasts has grown over the last few years, more and more businesses are trying to secure their own dedicated listener bases, which could erode Apple's dominance in the space. See, keep in mind, Google launched its own brand podcast app for Android users last June. Spotify acquired multiple noteworthy podcast companies in the past year and has been snapping up rights for exclusive distribution of both original and existing shows for even longer. Plus, a host of independent operations such as Illuminary Media and Castbox have been emerging to offer their own take on the ideal listening and content experience. Not to be outdone, there's Overcast as well. If this audio news is confirmed, this would mean podcasts are echoing Apple's current strategy for its TV Plus streaming service and a policy it has had with Apple Music and streaming audio. The upcoming TV Plus services will offer access to existing shows as well as to Apple's lineup of star-studded original shows. And since it first unveiled its Apple Music platform, the company has leveraged its industry connections for exclusive hosting of albums by talent ranging from Taylor Swift to Frank Ocean. Now, while the strategy of exclusive releases may seem like a clever way for the distributors to improve their business outlook, the industry fracturing of so many different forms of entertainment often means that consumers are managing multiple logins, accounts, and subscriptions. And it brings it right back to that point. I wish the article finished a little bit better instead of leaving hanging, but I can't judge. It does bring up an interesting point. Why do we still need to deal with the fracturing of so many different things going on? Can't we just find one stinking place? No, apparently not. Apparently, when it comes to cable television, you need like 5,000 different channels to take your pick from, and you're only going to watch like 2 or 3 in your lifetime of watching cable shows on average, the channels that you tune into quite regularly. Isn't it a laugh? And if you're a real power user, I guarantee you're not going to exceed 10. And that's if you're watching TV full time. 10. Okay? And the shows that you watch are probably going to be sporadically divvied up between a handful of other networks. I understand. I know how it goes. But here's one question it brings back in, which we should probably pose here. Why can't we make our shows available to the people who want to listen where they're most comfortable listening to or from, right? I mean, valid point. Where do you guys prefer to listen to your shows from? Is it YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts? I don't know. Why don't we do an informal poll here? Let me know down in the comments section how you're tuning into today's show and how you prefer to consume, the shows that you like hearing on a regular basis, whether that's YouTube because of the video feature, if it's on Apple, if it's on Google, if it's on Overcast, if it's on Spotify. Let me know down in the comments. We'll take a poll and head on over to the next story we got lined up. And I should probably keep moving along. I don't know what the time says, but I'm probably clipping right along here past the 30-minute mark. So, Rubiks Cube was solved by deep learning algorithm in a fraction of a second. So, thanks, stupid robot, for ruining a favorite human pastime. Artificial intelligence, which may at some point automate your job and can already defeat professionals in 6-player poker, is now able to solve a Rubik's Cube faster than any human. Well, yeah, like we could solve it in a split second. Researchers at the University of California, Irvine, have created an AI system that can solve the puzzle in a fraction of a second without any in-game coaching from humans or specific domain knowledge. And that's actually pretty impressive. The goal of Rubik's Cube, of course, if you don't know, is to make sure each of the 6 sides display one solid color. Artificial intelligence can defeat the world's best human chess and Go players, but some of the more difficult puzzles, such as the Rubik's Cube, have not been solved by computers, so he thought they were open for AI approaches, said senior author Pierre Baldi, UCI Distinguished Professor of Computer Science, in a published statement. So, the study published in Nature Machine Intelligence shows that Deep Cube A, their deep reinforcement learning algorithm, was able to solve 100% of all test configurations, finding the shortest path to the goal 60.3% of the time. The solution to the Rubik's Cube involves more symbolic, mathematical, and abstract thinking, so a deep learning machine that can track such a puzzle is getting closer to becoming a system that can think, reason, plan, and make its own decisions. The UCI algorithm takes about 20 moves, usually solving it in a minimum number of steps, according to researchers. And the goal of these projects is to build a next generation of AI systems, which already power everything from Siri to Alexa to the recommendation engine of Google-owned YouTube and Facebook's news feed, along with many others. But these systems are not really intelligent. They're brittle, and you can easily break or fool them. So how do we create advanced AI that is smarter, more robust, and capable of reasoning, understanding, and planning on its own? Well, this work is a step toward this hefty goal. So, are you guys worried? No, you can't do a Rubik's Cube. That's probably what you're saying. The rest of you are probably saying, oh no, robots are going to take over the world. We're going to have Terminator 2.0, and everybody's going to... Calm down. Computers are only as smart as the people who program and code them, and they do have a limit. Although we're trying to see what the limits are and test out things. For those of you worried about it, here's all I'm going to say to that. You're watching too many sci-fi movies. Now, you might have a realistic concern, granted, and if that's be the case, do express it, but I don't know, as with the people who are excited about this kind of information, do it in a constructive manner where you can both be understand and heard, and you can understand the other side of the argument, and find a happy medium in the middle. I guarantee you'll find those happy mediums, and you'll both be happy. I guarantee it. And if you're not happy, you can agree to disagree and go your own way, right? That's all I'm going to say about that. And finally, we got some gaming news for you guys. Well, how many of you play Pokemon Go? I know I say this every single time I bring up this article. I do. I play Pokemon Go. I've played it quite regularly. Well, the trainer battles are finally getting an overhaul. Now they might actually be decent. See, the fairly underwhelming PvP mechanics of Pokemon Go are set to receive an overhaul today. In a new update from Niantic's support account, a short trailer detailing some of the updates to Go's trainer battles was pushed out, and it seems to be a good move. Instead of continuously tapping like your fingers on fire, charge attacks will be getting charged to rhythmic swiping. Now some honest to goodness skill will be involved, which is quite frankly good for everyone. As well as that, Niantic will be updating the appraisal system that Pokemon Go has. Currently, individual values, the IVs, are obscured, but will be switching over to separate progress bars that will turn red when full. In battle, you'll even be able to switch monsters with a quick tap instead of trudging through clunky menus. It sounds like a net positive all around. The updated PvP is currently available in the US and will be making its way to other regions in the coming weeks. Both the iOS and Android versions should have the update available, though you may need to manually update the application, or you just get notified about it when you try to open up Pokemon Go. And they go, oh, I need to update the stupid thing. Oh, I'm not on the Wi-Fi. Oh, Niantic. Why do you suck so much and not giving me updates when I needs them? Anyways, so yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm happy. So good job, Niantic. At least you made it a little bit better for all of us playing, so we can continue to play, continue to enjoy it. So that's that. And with that, that wraps up this episode of the latest in tech news. Thanks for tuning in, guys. New episodes every weekday. Latest in tech news can be found on every major platform like we've covered before, including Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Stitcher, Overcast, and more. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to let us know by clicking that like button and by leaving a comment. Also, don't forget to head on over to podcastawards.com and nominate this show for an award. All you got to do is sign up. It's free to do. And we are in the technology category under latest in tech news. So if you could head on over to Podcast Awards and leave us a nomination. Nominations go through till the end of July, and depending on the shows that were nominated, you will get to vote on them in the coming month or two. So I'm your host, Taylor Merrick. Remember, for the latest in tech, gadget, and gaming news, visit TechNewsGadget.net. Pretty much keep being awesome, guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.